The future of Vertica in the clouds. I'm Rohit Amarnath, CTO for Vertica. I'll be showing parts of our strategy and future vision, which may or may not ever come to be. So this is a forward-looking statement. Please note some of the caveats in here. Right, so a little bit about me. I founded Full360 in 2007 and ended up being the CTO for Vertica almost exactly a year ago. And I've had a long history with Vertica and AWS. Before joining Vertica, I founded Full360, and some of you old-timers know me from when we did a fair bit of work with Vertica running on AWS. Starting in 2008, got Vertica running on Amazon, and then did a fair bit of work in 2010 with Talent, Vertica, and AWS to have a BI in the box solution. Vertica Full360 was one of 10 SI partners when AWS started their partner program. And after we created a Vertica-as-a-Service platform, it made a lot of sense for Micro Focus to acquire my company for that expertise. That happened about a year ago. So after getting that initial integration with Accelerator complete by the end of last year, Scott asked me to become the CTO and essentially expand my role to doing bigger things and thinking bigger thoughts. So I'm going to start with a introduction to Vertica Accelerator and give you a quick update as to what's been done since we've kind of last spoke. And starting with what is Vertica Accelerator. So Vertica Accelerator is essentially all of Vertica with the automated setup, administration, and management taken care of. So it's as a service, but you get everything that you would normally get in Vertica. There's nothing that's diluted or missing. So the SQL data warehousing piece, the analytics and ML, the query engine, all of that is part and parcel of what we provide as a service. You just don't have to worry about setting it up, administrating it, or managing it on a day-to-day basis. One of the other things that we do with Vertica Accelerator is we actually run this in the customer's AWS account, so the data never actually leaves their account, and that makes sure that things are fairly secure. And I'll talk about how that is set up between our control plane and the AWS account. Some of the cloud native capabilities that we bring, which is part and parcel of what Vertica provides when you deploy to an AWS environment, plus a few things that we've added that you don't get in a self-managed environment. So separation of cloud compute and storage is part and parcel of what Eon provides, and gives us the ability to do a fair bit of interesting things in the cloud around managing how we do compute and how we manage storage. It takes just a few minutes to provision, manage, and monitor the environment, and all of that is controlled through a control plane with a nice user interface to see what's going on. One of the things that we are able to do is isolate and auto-scale workloads, which is something that only Accelerator provides, and it's not part of the regular Vertica software. So as things change, if you need to scale up or scale down, you can do this in Accelerator by setting a few parameters. The other thing that we can also do is allow folks to shut things down when there's not a lot of activity. So for example, if you have a dev or UAT environment, you can shut it down if there's nobody using it for, say, 15 minutes. So this gives folks a bit of control around how they actually use the environment. So let's talk about security and transparency. Because we're keeping the environment in the customer account, the data and compute resources that make up Vertica Accelerator actually stay on that side of the fence and allow us to basically secure all the data that's there with the customer account and not on our side. That also allows the customer to negotiate and leverage the environment spend that they have with AWS. Whereas if with some of our competitors, because they own the account, they don't get any of the benefits that AWS may provide when you're leveraging their environment. One of the other things that it also does, and I've spoken about this a few minutes ago, is that it minimizes how much data you have to move in and out of that environment because everything is in the same place. So how does this work? One of the things that AWS has provided for a long time is something called a IAM, an Identity Access Management link, cross-account link. And once that's established, it lets us do things in the customer account to the extent that the policy allows. So what customers will do is look at our IAM policy, review it for security, and essentially only does what we need to do as part of running the environment. And once the customer has that, they've reviewed it, they've established what it does, and they implement it, our control plane then has access to do those actions. And that's typically starting up a cluster, creating instances, shutting them down, and so forth. But once it's there, it stays in the customer account. The only messages going back and forth between the customer account and our account is the control messages that help us manage the environment.
Vertica Accelerator delivers blazing fast analytics as a managed service with a simplified experience for all. Setting up an account is quick, simple, and secure, with the possibility of enabling single sign-on in the future. After signing up, you'll cross-link Vertica Accelerator with your AWS account. Our Bring Your Own Cloud model allows you to keep data and compute resources on your own secure cloud while leveraging your AWS pricing contract. Upon login, you'll be greeted by the home page. Here, you can easily gauge your database's status and health at a glance, as well as view details on a more granular level. When it comes to creating a database, we've streamlined the process to maximize ease of use by offering popular, affordable, and highly performant choices. With simple cluster sizing and the option to scale up or down later, creating a database is quicker and easier than ever. While deploying your database relies on Amazon provisioning hardware, typically databases fully deploy in under 10 minutes. It's that fast. Adding subclusters is just as easy as creating a database. You can have heterogeneous subclusters within one database, each with different sizes and instance types. Since Vertica Accelerator is running on Eon mode architecture, you can easily change your subcluster size and instance types with just a few clicks. Next, you'll follow a few quick steps to connect to third-party tools and your preferred programming language using the pre-filled connection string. DNS names are assigned to all your subclusters, so you can easily connect to them without having to memorize node IP addresses. Now that your database is up and running, monitor the health of your entire system on a single dashboard. View the most relevant and important information about your system to get an indication of how well your databases are doing. There's also a similar dashboard where you can monitor usage consumption. This page shows a usage summary with session logs for each database, helping you to monitor runtimes as well as manage costs. We know that our customers are busy people, so we're introducing autoscaling, a time-based scheduling feature that allows you to automate scaling on both one-time and recurring schedules. Alternatively, if you have unpredictable or volatile workloads, use elastic autoscaling. Just set a threshold at which to start additional secondary subclusters at, and you're all set. In this instance, when the number of running sessions on the database exceeds 56 for 15 minutes or more, an additional secondary subcluster will start. More secondary subclusters will be started or stopped on the same basis. This, in conjunction with the flexibility of heterogeneous subclusters of different sizes and instance types, offers full control over the balance between performance and cost effortlessly. When you enable the idle shutdown feature, your database will automatically stop when there are no active queries running, saving you time and valuable resources. With that, we've covered the steps to get started with Vertica Accelerator, as well as features to optimize for performance and cost, all with just a few clicks. Now you can have your analytics running on a Vertica database in no time.
So now that you've seen what Accelerator can do and is able to do, let's talk a little bit about what what's coming and what's been done in the past few months. So one of the things we've obviously done is keep up with the changing versions of Vertica. So the customers always have the latest and greatest in terms of what Vertica provides. We've also spent a fair bit of time around improving the reliability of the control plane itself, making sure that if there are issues that pop up, we're able to quickly respond to it and make sure it's fixed. One of the other things that we're bringing to bear pretty soon is being able to bring your own cloud objects to the environment. So for the most part, we build out what we need in the customer account, but a lot of customers would like to bring their own S3 buckets or their own networking environment. And we're going to continue to improve that and help customers build out their environment with customization. And all that'll be still possible through the one-click cross-account link. What's coming soon this year is more bring your own environment pieces, and also the ways to sign up and use Vertica Accelerator with just a credit card. I think that's one of the pieces that we need to be fully SaaS enabled and make it easier for customers to sign up and use. We'll continue to improve the site reliability for Accelerator, and in the coming year, we'll be bringing on more optimizations and the ability to manage how data gets loaded, et cetera, in Accelerator. One of the other things that we're also doing in parallel is combining the user interface for Accelerator and Management Console in terms of how the API works and at the lower level, and providing SSO and DevOps things like Terraform Provider. We're also looking at our next cloud after AWS, which would be Azure. So let's talk about Unified Analytics Made Easier, some of the new things we're thinking about doing in terms of the CTO vision that I'm putting forward. So Vertica is still one of the most performant unified analytics platforms on the market. We provide the columnar flexible engine. We separate compute and storage, very scalable, full SQL support. We have a number of different deployment options. We have S3 object stores, subclusters, a very rich set of features that let people do a fair bit of analytics on our product. It also gives us a fair number of functions around machine learning, geospatial, time series, et cetera, and getting data from the time it gets loaded to query, a fairly short time between those two. And all of those features and core functionality will continue to improve by the team on the core server engineering team, Janse and others. But what else can we do to make Vertica better? And that's essentially the vision that I'm putting forth for the next 6 to 18 months as to how we could make some of those improvements. So, like any database technology, we're usually at the bottom of the technology stack, right? So there's the database, there's middleware, there's user interface items on top, and for the most part, the customers who are interacting with the stack interact with those other pieces and not with the database directly. But we want Vertica to be a better citizen of that stack, not be disruptive. As you can tell, if that cookie moves about, that whole thing could come down. And we really want to make sure that it's stable and easy to manage in that larger context. So it's critical that we play well in that stack, play well in the sandbox, be easy to integrate with, easy to manage, and easy to get data out of. And that's essentially the core goals for the coming months and years in terms of how we can improve Vertica from the outside, right? So how do we manage it? How do we load data? How do we get data out for insight and usability? And a lot of that has to do with how we deal with the customer experience, how the developers are able to work with Vertica, and making it much easier to use from an end-to-end perspective. So what are we going to do with these? So the first incubation projects that have already started are the Vertica Management SDK and the user interface convergence. And let me show a little bit more about that. So the Vertica Management SDK and UX convergence is essentially taking a number of different command line tools, APIs, etc., and combining them into one seamless REST API. And once we have that, it will replace a number of different ways of interacting with the Vertica database from a management standpoint, and help making sure that all of those different ways of interacting with Vertica stay consistent across the various interfaces. So if it's the management console, if it's admin tools, all of those will use the same interface, enforcing some consistency across how tools interact with Vertica. One of the other things that it lets us do is customers and partners can also do the same thing that we're doing and build out their own applications and environments around Vertica without having to deal with using command line tools to interact with Vertica, which can be quite challenging. So this actually means eventually command line tools like admin tools will just be thin clients over the underlying SDK. All right. So further out, there are a number of patterns that repeat themselves when it comes to ingesting data into Vertica. So for example, loading files from S3, handling events as files arrive and loading those files automatically is something that a lot of our customers already do, but each of them builds it their own way. So we believe there are ways to take some of those standard patterns and build that into the product so that as customers start using Vertica, they can very quickly get data ingested and not have to jump through hoops to build something that gets built every time. So the last initiative that we have is pretty blue sky at the moment. It aligns with the goal of making it easier to get insights out of the warehouse. And the idea is to create a web-based integrated development environment that's specialized for analytics. This, for example, can include a SQL editor with shared workspaces, low or no code user interfaces, and an interface to manage ML ops. And I envision this being a plugin based environment, allowing customers and partners to extend the UX. If this initiative comes to be, it'll also include the convergence of Accelerator and Management Console functionality. So there are other things that me and my team members are helping the engineering team with in terms of seeds and hunches. So these are things that we believe are possible game changers or enhancements that our customers will want in due course. But again, none of this may ever make it into our product, so the caveat stands. And if there are other things that we may be missing, please let me know so I can consider and see if there are ways we can integrate it into the engineering ecosystem. So things like a new Rust client, because Rust is growing in popularity as a language, using DNS to route queries to the right place, to the right workload, being able to find something by just saying prod.analytics cluster.vertica is something that DNS does well. If we can do this and build it into the platform, it would make routing very simple. One of the other options that we're looking at is gRPC and loading data via a gRPC API. Because it's stream-based and allows a bidirectional streaming, we could do data loading and extraction at scale. The last one is WebAssembly. It's one of the things that I'm most excited about. It allows customers to create unfenced UDXs in any language because as long as you can compile it to WebAssembly, it can run in a memory-safe sandbox environment at near native speeds. So this could extend what UDXs are available to customers in what language they can write UDXs in, and essentially anything that compiles to WebAssembly works. So Rust, Go, Python, etc. Look for an exciting announcement about our support for the open source community soon. By the time this one rolls out, it might already be made, so check out the news for any open source announcements that Vertica has made.